per our conversation last night about dialects, especially Eastern and Northeastern North Carolina dialects, I decided to do a video on how we pronounced, or how I remember pronouncing certain towns in Eastern North Carolina when I was growing up. So without further ado, let's get into it. One disclaimer down here, I'll put the name of the town. Give it a second, see how you try to pronounce it, and then I'll pronounce it. Now, it's been a while, I will admit this, it's been a while since I've lived in Eastern North Carolina. I moved out about 2002, moved to Virginia Beach, and then out west. So if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Feel free to let me know. This is going from my memory growing up. So the first one, Ahoskie. Ahoskie is always interesting to hear people over the phone try to pronounce it. It's Ahoskie. So our next one, this one has two pronunciations. The first one, Allander or Allanda, depends on how, where the person's from. But the second one's Orlando or Orlando. If you get into the history or some of the histories that I've read about Allander, back in the day when they were naming the town, they wanted to name it Orlando, like the town in Florida or city in Florida, how specific you want to get. Yet, because of the postal code system back in the late 1800s, I want to say, early 1900s, they wouldn't let them spell it that way, so they decided to spell it Allander. At least that's the lore I heard. So our next town, Powellsville. Powellsville. The V-I-L-L-E becomes a vowel like Greenville, Powellsville, Winterville. So that's how I grew up pronouncing it. Pronouncing it. Powellsville. Pretty straightforward. Ure. It's a town in Gates County, or a community in Gates County, and there is a road that goes through Ure called Tuggy-Ure. Can't make this up. So Ure and Tuggy-Ure. Here's our next one. Sans Souci. Sans Souci, there was a one-car ferry that goes across the river there, and that'll be our next pronunciation. And I never went across the ferry, got close to it, yet apparently you would pull up, honk your horn, and the guy would come across and pick you up on the ferry. Sans Souci. Our next one? No. Here's how it is. Kashai. The Kashai River. Not Kashi, but the Kashai. Here's a community in Bertie County. Now, there are three pronunciations from around the country. There's Buena Vista, if you're outside of Virginia and North Carolina. If you're in Western Virginia, it's Buena Vista. If you're in Bertie County, one of my buddies pronounced it for me. Now, he could have been pulling my leg. It's Buena Vista. I don't know either. If I'm wrong about that, please correct me. I'm okay with being corrected. Next one. Almost. Cresswell. Some people, I think, pronounce it Cresswell, but I grew up pronouncing it Cresswell. I think other people pronounce it Cresswell as well. That W-E-L-L becomes a wool. So Cresswell. Close. Well, no. Terrell. Not Tyrell. Terrell. Terrell County is the smallest county by population in North Carolina, or it was. And the county seat was Columbia. And Cresswell we were the Cresswell Tigers, and our arch rival were the Columbia Wildcats. Terrell. Roanoke. Not Roanoke. Roanoke. So Roanoke River, Roanoke Rapids, Roanoke, Virginia. Roanoke. Croatan. Not Croatoan, Croatan. That's how we pronounced it. So you have Roanoke Island, Croatan Sound, and then at the south end of Roanoke Island is Wanchese. Croatan. Town or the island that we're, both island and town, we were talking about last night with the Hoyt-Hoyters. Ocracoke. Ocracoke. Scuppernong. Scuppernong. Scuppernong, that's right, Scuppernong. I don't remember pronouncing the G at the end growing up. It was always Scuppernong. I think I was surprised when I learned as a kid that it was Scuppernong. 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 Corolla. Not Corolla. Corolla. Pantego. Not Pantago. Pantego. And just south of Pantego was Belhaven. I think they're both in Beaufort County. And Pungo. So Pantego and Pungo. Not Pongo, the dog from 101 Dalmatians, but Pungo. Pasquotank. Pretty straightforward. Pasquotank. Brings us to our next one, and this is the grand prize for someone who pronounces it correctly. If you're from the area, you can't pronounce it. Canita. Not Conto. Canita. Yeah. We would joke around about that growing up. We'd always go, we're going to Conto. We're going through Conto to get to Tarboro. Tarboro. Not Tarboro. Tarboro. So Canita, Tarboro. Greenville. Greenville. And this is the next one. This is going to be, you're going to hate me for this one. Little Washington. Big Washington is Washington, D.C. We grew up calling Washington Little Washington. And outside of Little Washington is the town Chakawinity. Chakawinity. Hey, we got to cuss when saying this. Didn't get to cuss growing up. But when you're talking about Norfolk and Suffolk, you get to cuss. So Norfolk, Virginia, Suffolk, Virginia. You always tell someone who wasn't from the area by going Norfolk, Norfolk, Suffolk. Poquoson. I think that's a pretty standard word in American lexicon. Is it? Probably not. I know in Eastern Virginia and Northeastern North Carolina, Poquoson was in the lexicon. And our last one, Chincoteague. Chincoteague. That's where they take the horses. There's a herd of horses. How many times can I restart myself? There's a herd of horses on Chincoteague Island, and they will swim them across. I think they're on Eastern Shore, and they will sell the foals off so the bloodline isn't too inbred. So Chincoteague. If I got any of those wrong, let me know.